tracks, and we were getting ready to release it in 2001, and 9/11 happened, and the label folded in New York, so that album never got released.
Wow. Sorry.
Yeah, so I released it myself on my own, and just printed up a bunch of copies of it and sold it myself. But it never actually officially got released.
Wow.
The one that I did for Triple X Records, and then the guy who ran Triple X Records started up another label in 2004, and then Bitch You Look Fierce actually got released later. So.
Work. Ooh, congratulations. You tried it. Boy.
What happened?
He pressed something by accident. I'm going to save you this time, child. But listen, I actually am a big fan of your music, and there is a whole bunch of music that you have done for the community, and a lot of people in the ballroom community, grew up on this kind of music. How do you feel about that?
I think it's amazing. I mean, when I was putting together those compilations, I didn't really think that it was that important. I've learned over the years how important that my archiving has become, because of a lot of those things were never available anywhere else. They were bootlegs, and then some of them were things that I put together myself, like the Wonder Woman Ha thing. That was a thing that I put together for Harmonica for the end of the show.
I have that one too.
And it came from, she used to have this drag CD, and it was track 13 was the Wonder Woman theme, and so she would say, "Which one do you want me to put to?" And the room would start yelling, "Track 13," and then someone else would yell the Ha, and it just kept going back and forth, and I was like, "Okay, I'll solve this." And so I made this mix live, and it became a hit, and then everybody wanted it. Wow. And we didn't give it out for a while. I mean, it was available on that CD, but this kind of started more so over at Two Potato back in the Village before we moved to
legendary Christmas Street.
Yes, darling. Yeah, I worked at Two Potato. I even spun once over at Keller's. Some of the kids probably don't even remember that place. But all up and down Church, I was about to say Church Street because I've been up here too long in Toronto. All up and down Christopher Street. I worked at most of those places, and if I didn't work there, I supplied the music there. Like Boots and Saddles used to buy all of my CDs. And then eventually I became the first black DJ to work at the Monster, because they never had a black DJ before me.
Wow.
I worked at Stonewall twice, and I actually went to court with them when they went to get their cabaret license to allow dancing there, because I testified, just like a bunch of people did that day, to help get their cabaret license. So
Amazing.
It's weird to think that I was a part of a lot of things in the background, but I didn't think about it at the time that, this is historical, or this is, I was just like, okay, well, I'll lend my voice or I'll help or whatever. But looking back over it, I'm like, wow, I actually am part of something that was much bigger than what I thought it was. So.
Wow. Amazing. Shout out to that, by the way. Now, I hear you have a couple of new projects that you've been working on, right?
Yeah, I'm very excited. I think the date is October 26th, I believe, is when the Karma EP is coming out. My new focus now, actually someone just wrote me a couple of days ago asking, I have an idea for a bitch track and I want to do blah, 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 and I want it to be like this and blah, 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 and they mentioned Bitch You Look Fierce, and they mentioned a Harmonica Sunbeam track. And, the thing about it is that, to me, bitch tracks now, they're kind of like listening to early hip-hop. Early hip-hop was all about, bragging about, I got this, I got these cars, I got these fancy clothes, blah, 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 because that's what early hip-hop was. You know, the Sugar Hill Gang and all of, you know, the Furious Five and all of them, and that's what rap was. You were bragging about what you had. So the early diss tracks, they're all about, like, I'm fierce, you know, you can't take me, all this stuff. But, like, for me now, I want to do something on a different level. So now I try to put a message in my songs. And so ever since I recorded H.I. Vogue, talking about the dangers of online dating or, you know, sexting or whatever, I've sort of tried to think a little more deeper about what it is that I'm using my voice for. So Karma is actually about karma. It's about, you know, you get what you give, you reap what you sow. And you know, but of course I bring up some examples that I think most of the kids can relate to, or especially if you work in bars or you've been in a ball or whatever. When you hear the song and the stuff that I bring up, you'll be like, oh yes, bitch, I get it, I understand. And then, but the second song that's on the EP, and it's a bunch of remixes of each. The second song, this one is actually really near and dear to my heart because it stems from an incident that happened here in Toronto. There was a couple of years ago, right on Pride Week, there was a queen who did blackface, and no one said anything. Like everybody was like, "Oh, that's funny, ha 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 ha," and I was like, "No, that's not funny. We shouldn't be doing blackface ever, and definitely not on Pride Week. This is supposed to be a week that we're bringing everyone together to unify and celebrate our community, and this is divisive." And so I spoke out about it, and you would not believe all the people who turned against me, black and white. And what's interesting up here is that the black community is mainly Caribbean, you know, and so they have a different take. And it's really strange to me, black people from other places other than the U.S., they sort of look down on black people in the U.S., like we're the bastard black people. And they, you know, they think that they're better than us because they're pure or they're, you know, they're closer to their own culture or whatever. And I hate that because when you look at whatever it is that they're doing, they're copying stuff from the U.S. So for them to badmouth me and tell me, one DJ up here actually wrote me and said, "Oh, let's not turn this into a U.S. situation. We don't worry about those things up here." And I was like, wow, you don't get it. If you allow this one white person to degrade you like this, then you might as well just allow them to, like, tell you to come in the back door or only drink off this water fountain. You know, I mean, they just didn't get it. And so I was so frustrated that so many people were upset with me because I spoke out against someone doing blackface in 2013, that I sat down and I wrote this, like, it was a spoken word piece, and I was to host a spoken word event, and so I read it for that. That was the first time I ever did it in public or whatever. Right. And I was really, really nervous, and it didn't help the fact that the room that I read it to were all white. But the piece that I wrote was, originally it was titled "Niggers Are Scared of Evolution." And, you know, so I'm like in front of this room of white people dropping the N-word over and over again, but giving all these different examples of how people use it and what they think they're saying as opposed to what they really are saying. And, you know, one of the things that I bring up is like, everybody wants to be Beyonce, but nobody sees the beauty in looking like Nina Simone. Okay. You know, these are the things that, like, this is the self-hatred that we are taught as people of color, and we're just supposed to accept that. Well, I don't want to accept that. You know, I'm black. You know, I'm actually I'm biracial, but like more. If you look at my birth certificate, they wrote black because my parents are black to them when they saw them in the hospital, even though my father is part Puerto Rican, and my mom was half white, all of that stuff. But, they just wrote black. So that's what I've grown up to be, and like I wish I could remember the guy's first name, but his last name is King too. They just ostracized him, who was part of the Black Lives Movement, and it was discovered that he was white, but he was raised black. I understood that situation, and I empathized with him because of, if that's all you know, if you've been discriminated against as though you were black, you might as well be black. As long as they perceived you as black, then that's what you were, and that's what he believed he was, until someone, until his mother told the truth. But, so I wrote this piece, and it evolved into becoming a track. So it's called Scared of Evolution. And there's a club mix of it, and my husband, God bless him, he actually sat and counted how many times the word nigger is in it. 525 times the word comes up in the club version.
Now, is that the revolutionary mix, or is that the other mix?
That's the revolutionary mix.
Okay.
Yeah. And the extraordinary Negro mix, that's actually kind of the original mix, which that has a kind of a funny story behind the name of the mix, because of yet another black intellectual lesbian up here decided to call me out on a blog that I wrote about a documentary, and I saw the situation in the documentary. I can't remember. I think it's Southern Rights or something like that. It's about it's about a prom in some small town in Georgia, I believe. But in that same town, there were two black boys who got killed by a white man, but they were in his house having sex with his biracial daughter. And he shot one of them, and the kid died. Okay, if you wake up at, I say, 3 in the morning, and there's somebody in your house, and you got a gun, what's going to happen?
Wow.
What's going to happen?
You're going to get
right,
shot.
you're going to get shot. I don't see no color at that hour. I see somebody who ain't supposed to be in my house at that hour. So the man wakes up, there's pot. Someone's smoking pot in his house, and he gets up and comes out of his bedroom, and there are two black boys struggling to get their clothes on and trying to get to the front door of the house. Somebody's going to get hurt.
Ooh.
Period. So this particular lesbian decided that she was going to call me out on Facebook and say all this stuff, and she called me. She was like, I don't see why you feel the need to be an extraordinary Negro. Well, that was the reason why I decided to call that mix that. Because of, yes, I am extraordinary. I think differently than most people, and I'm grateful for that because I'm able to look at situations for what they are. I'm not going to be black just to be black. I'm going to be black because that's who I am. But, defending someone who's done something wrong, those boys know that they knew they weren't supposed to be in this man's house. So if something happened to them or one of them got hurt, that's just the reality of what it was, But, and watching the documentary and watching their parents crying about, oh, he was such a good boy, and listening to the mama of his baby talking about, oh, he was the love of my life. He was across town fucking another girl. Really? That was a good person?
Wow.
So she didn't like the idea that I called it out like that. So that's why she called me that. And so I felt it was very important that I named that mix specifically after what she said.
Wow. Amazing. What I wanted to say was, excuse me. Out of those two mixes, which mix do you think would be better to play after the interview on this show?
Play the revolutionary mix because it has beats and stuff that the kids will probably might get into. Although if they're busy listening to what I say, they might not be paying attention to the beats. But I mean, if you want them to really concentrate on what I'm saying, then play the original mix, the extraordinary.